Thank you. Hello. I need to give a shout out to Giovanna, our head of comms, who wrote that beautiful intro. Yes, I do like pulling stuff apart and breaking things and trying to find ways to put them back together in a better way. A big thing with our team and how I approach most things in life is that we find solutions that make lives better without making other lives worse. Making something positive without making something else go negative. Balance can mean many things. Now, Jiku did a great job of teaching lessons of all the headings of the MBAs for Dummies book. Yeah, you did a really good job of that. That's 100% not my thing. I'm more of a hustler. I'm doing well with my psychology degree from UNISA, and that's pretty much where my formal education was stopped, because then I decided I'm going to go travel the world, and that is going to be the best place for me to learn about people, learn about how different people live, what different people need or think they need. And ultimately, in those travels, the lesson learned is everybody ultimately wants the same thing. They want to live in a safe place. They want to be able to provide for their families, and they want to be happy. If you can do those things, most people are happy. If you can take care of the people that you love, you're basically mostly happy. Now, the lessons that I learn, and the biggest ones, are about people. And it always comes back to the people for me. Now, I like to think of myself as somebody that's a pretty good judge of character. Somebody that can fairly quickly know if somebody's going to be a good match for us, or somebody if I'm going to get along with you quickly, or form a deep connection quite quickly. Now, this didn't come just like that. I had to make a lot of bad judgments of character before becoming better at it. And that's what I think when it comes to failure. I don't really like the term failure, or thinking about that term failure, and it gets made so big. It's mostly school fees, you know, schoolgeld, alles schoolgeld. When you make mistakes and you fail at something, because ultimately you're learning something out of it. A big say thing for me, I mean, it's on my signature and on my business card, is try many things and keep what works. So basically, try a lot of things, fail at a bunch of them, and only keep the ones that work. And that is how I feel I get better at making better decisions faster. Now, my epic fail story, it's kind of embarrassing, so bear with me. I've made a lot of bad decisions, guys. But again, ultimately, they taught me the best lessons. So early days of LocumBase, right? I'd been working since I was 15 years old, and I've been saving money. My first real job where someone else paid me money was promoting Aquafresh toothpaste in a supermarket. And that is where I learned that I've got some special skills of convincing people to do stuff.
And good teeth.
And good teeth. I had good teeth. I had to smile a lot. I have good teeth still. I'm a great orthodontist. So that was my first real experience of selling and working with another person in a very short period of time, convincing them to do what I want them to do. Because isn't that really what we all want? If we're starting a business, if we're starting a service, if you want people to do what you want them to do. It's human behavior, that's just what dictates everything we do, really. So I started to learn how do people work? How do you nudge them to do what it is that you want them to do? And reaching out in that ways was, again, best way to learn about people. Now, fast forward to when we started LocumBase, I had taken all my life savings. I had sold my house and made a little bit of money from that, and took all this life savings and decided to start another company called OV Optics. Long story short, made a lot of bad decisions there, spent a whole lot of money there. Main mistake there was thinking we know what people wanted, because we didn't go and ask them. We thought, this is an awesome idea. We're not going to ask them if they want it. We're just going to give it to them. Guys, there's no such thing as a build it and they will come. There's no such thing as that. Don't let anybody tell you that we're going to make this thing and it's going to be so cool and people are going to come. No, they're not. You have to ask people. You have to ask your intended marketplace if they actually want what you want. Now, making all those mistakes in that business, I mean, we kind of fixed stuff and it did its thing. But making those mistakes in that business set me up to make better decisions and maybe better mistakes for this business. So in the life of OV Optics, my main task was going to different medical practices of GPs and pharmacies and optometrists and tout our wares, our flexible, bendable, unbreakable children's sunglasses and the program that we have for awareness creation on UV and kids. And that opened the door for LocumBase, asking questions. Because this time we knew we need to ask people if they want the thing that we think is cool and we want to give them. Asking questions and knowing how to nudge true answers out of people. Again, talk to as many people as you can to learn perspectives and learn how to not ask leading questions to guide people on what you want them to answer, but leading them or guiding them to give you the most authentic, honest answer as an individual. So I ask a lot of questions. I think people think it's quite annoying after a while, but it gets me lots of answers and gets me lots of information. So in my mission with my sunglasses, I went to go find out a lot about the problems that practices and individual medical professionals who work as freelancers, short word, locum. That's what a locum is. Doctors, optoms, the guy at Clicks when you go get your medicine you've never seen before, it's because he's a locum and he works at different pharmacies in different places on a freelance basis. Now that's quite a big market that your general member of the public doesn't really know exists, but it is massive. So I was asking these individuals a lot of questions and I was asking the practices a lot of questions. But I was also in the unique position where my partner, Tanya, is an optometrist. And at the time, because we also started the other business together, she was working as a freelance optometrist while we were building OV Optics. So I had a very unique perspective of how it is affecting or how the challenges in the locum space is affecting this individual and how it is affecting practices and how they're struggling and what their gripes are with the situation and the current solution. Back to my savings that I don't have anymore because I spent it all on OV Optics by not asking the right questions. Took my last little bit of money that I had, got a quote from a dev house as to speccing it out and wireframing things and basically putting together the guide as to, okay, go develop it now. And that was an excellent process because that was really the beginning of it coming to life. Now, nobody's done this in South Africa before. In South Africa, locums or freelance medical professionals, temp nurses, it's generally done by recruitment companies or labor brokers, and they completely screw everybody over when it comes to money. Ultimately, the working individual who often puts less than half in their pocket what the practice is actually paying for them. So there's this crazy expectation or there's an expectation discrepancy because I'm working and I know I'm putting $100 in my pocket, so that's what I'm going to work as. But you as the practice owner knows that you're paying $200 for me an hour and I'm not doing as much as you think I should be doing. And this created this small thing. Well, it's not small, it's money, and money is always big. This discrepancy and almost a lack of transparency created big problems in this industry. So we knew that we needed to do it differently. In the most basic sense, a platform, a connection, open platform between the medical professional that can showcase themselves and the practice that needs it. And I hate saying this, but it's like your typical Airbnb/Uber, just get something at a click of a button. It's literally that. But nobody's done it yet before. Because, again, that thing of, the old school thinking of, it's not broken, but it's kind of broken. It does work, but it's expensive and it's slow and everybody hates it. And nobody has control over their own value or the value of their value of their working hours, their skilled hours. So we had to do this. I knew that if we weren't going to do it, some corporate's going to do it, and they're just going to do it wrong, because the problem that we needed to solve here is the transparency, the lack of transparency, so that the individuals can actually earn the money that they need to earn. Because if they earn the money that they deserve, it means they would like their jobs more in the simplest term, like their jobs more, and they won't go overseas to go and be a nurse and leave us. And we've got a really, really big problem. I'm not going to go into that today because it's very depressing. But the basic mission is help people earn more money, because they're super important and we need them to stay in South Africa so that we have the medical professionals to take care of us. That's the short mission of doing LocumBase. But of course, I can't do this alone, and I also don't have any more money left. So I was literally I had access to 5,000 Rand debt still. So this is not the actual money that I had. I've spent all my money. I'm doing weird little freelance jobs everywhere just to make sure that I can contribute to my household. And I was desperate. It was desperation. And I had started having conversations with potential angel investors. Now that's an interesting journey if you've never done that before. In 2017, I moved to Cape Town, and I'd now been pushing LocumBase as far as I could. And I needed to learn the landscape. I needed to figure out who are the players, who are the incubators, who are the investors who do these things, who are the right people to speak to, like from scratch. And I know you wouldn't say it now, but I was quite a socially anxious individual, and going to networking events and starting to talk to people. I'm terrible at small talk. Please don't come small talk me. Come ask me a really serious question, and then we'll be good. So that was an experience and something I had to teach myself. And that was a difficult thing to do. But again, you push through it, because if it's important enough to you, you will carry on, no matter how hard it is. Back to having spent all the money I had, and now I needed to get angel investors. A friend of mine introduced me to a guy who has bunches of money, because his father had hotels and had this and had that, and the next thing, his father died. He inherited some assets. Now my friend, he's a trader, and he trains traders, and he had worked with this guy training him, and this guy has always shared that he's interested in different types of businesses, medical, his wife's a doctor, so there's a couple of connections there. Now, big lesson: never make decisions out of desperation. If I could tattoo that on my forehead so that I could see it every single day and it would be reasonable, I really would. Maybe just here, like in my neck or something. Because that is something I hold on to whenever I think about this situation. So I met this investor. Let's call him Jack. So Jack's quite flashy. And I meet Jack for a coffee in Woodstock. And I learn a bit more about him. He was a fairly successful CA. He is very interested in various arts and invests in art. He's got a hotel somewhere in Stellenbosch. He's an interesting guy, a nice guy. He's just exited another medical equipment company, and he's now got some money to reinvest somewhere else. Great. Remember now, I know nothing. I had been spending only a few months in Cape Town learning the landscape. I know nothing about investment, getting an angel investor, other than what I've been speaking to people about, reading, etc. But this is my first foray into these conversations. When someone tells you they want to give you 2 million rand, of course you're going to say yes, right? If someone goes, what do you need? And I go, I need this much because I want to do this and this and this and this. And they go, okay, let's do that. Don't do that. Nobody does that if it's a really good idea. They want to see stuff. They don't do that. But now I was in this position again where I had access to 5,000 rand more debt. That no bank's going to give me more access to debt after that. In this crazy entrepreneurial headspace of pushing this thing, and I know it's supposed to happen, and I'm obsessed with the problem, and I need to solve this because it's so important. And I would do anything. I would do anything to keep pushing this. So I said yes. Give me your 2 million rand. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I have ever made. I did not give the time that I was supposed to give you. I think it was literally a matter of meeting, and 2 weeks later there's money in the bank account. And I was like, super, we can carry on. And at that stage I was alone. I was doing all of this alone. I was just so happy that I could hire people now to help me, that I could build a team, that I was blinded by what it actually means to have an angel investor. Side note, got 2 other angel investors who are excellent. Just a side note on that. So part of the agreement with Jack was Jack wanted to be involved in things. You know, he was with a young company, startup space, very exciting, doing something that no one's done before in South Africa. And that means he wanted to be very involved in things. Now, you should find that out early on if somebody who you are asking for investment wants to be super involved in things. Because you may have heard about getting smart investment and stupid money investment. It's real. It's very real. You want to get smart money from people who can either really help you in a practical sense, or whose name opens doors and they leave you to do what you need to do. I took stupid money from 1 out of the 3 angel investors that I took. Because again, I didn't give it the time that it needed to have. It changed the trajectory of LocumBase in the early days. And I think it cost us a lot of time. It cost me a lot of time. And the mental challenge of that experience of dealing with an investor that was not the right guy for me as a founder, for LocumBase at that early stage, for me as a sole founder, having to be the only person who fights for what it is that I believe in needs to happen for the business. One of the biggest mistakes I made, but also one of the mistakes I'm the most grateful for. If I didn't make that mistake, I wouldn't know what I know now about the types of investors that I want on board with me on this rocket ship. I wouldn't know what are the things that I don't want in an investor. Because Jack is a very good picture of what you don't want in an investor now. Like, I'm thinking about making a poster and just, giving one to everyone. So that's, I would say, is that was one of my biggest fuck-ups. Is I made a decision out of desperation. On the one hand, for a good reason, because I'm still obsessed with solving this problem and scaling the solution and taking it international, and we're heading into other industries, and it's exciting, and this is the best. I wouldn't want to do anything else. There's nothing else I would want to do right now. I'm obsessed with my work and wanting to get it to where I want to get it. And that difficulty, going through the mental challenge, I had a proper breakdown, right? Like, I need to go to a psychiatrist to get meds breakdown from this guy. But I'm so grateful for that fuck up. Because I now look at people differently. And the one main thing that I look at in the people I spend time with, the people I spend energy on, people who I allow into what is most important to me, which is my work. Are they worthy of what it is you're creating? Are they worthy of the thing that you want to achieve, or the change you want to make in the country, in the world, in business, in life? Being very selective of who you choose. I've become extremely selective about how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. And I wish I was that selective then. And I wish I wasn't that desperate for carrying on. But if I wasn't, who knows what might have happened? I would have, I don't know, gone completely other way, mental breakdownish, and just decided, fuck it, I'm not going to do anything anymore. And that would have just been very bad, and I'm glad that didn't happen. But what I could leave you with is simply the line, do not make decisions out of desperation. Please. Not in business, not in life, not when it comes to investors. It's always a bad idea. It's always a bad idea. Now, when I look at people who I want around me, people who I want to learn from, I always look for something that I admire about you. Something in you that I admire. Whether it is having overcome some struggle or a trauma, or having, putting yourself out there, taking chances, and giving it just a little bit of time. And trust your gut there. Trust your guts. Definitely. I didn't listen. And sometimes sometimes I get that feeling and then I go, am I making this decision out of desperation? It's also good to ask yourself that if your gut tells you it doesn't feel right. So that's my story of the bad idea of the bad investor. It did have a happy ending. It was very problematic and it was a very tough year to get out of this. But I am so fortunate and so grateful that I have excellent other angel investors who at that time had the capacity to buy this guy out and basically saved my life. And that is exactly the opposite type of investor than Jack was. And again, this investor is somebody that will go with me forever in my career as an entrepreneur. No matter what I do or how LocumBase grows or what the next project's going to be selective about the people that you have around you, the people that you learn from, because many of these people are going to walk a long, long, long road with you for a very long time. Okay, so getting a tattoo next week. Don't make decisions out of desperation.